Chapter 1. Succubus. The succubus Martin's soul was the most dominant, taking full control, while the scholar Martin remained as a reservoir of memories. As for young Martin Myers, well, he hardly counted. How peculiar there's no spiritual energy in this world. Fortunately, I'm a succubus, and my cultivation doesn't require spiritual energy. It thrives on collecting desires. Desire exists in joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. As long as these emotions are directed at me, they can all be transformed into sustenance for my cultivation. All right, let's see, what reliable methods does this world have to evoke strong emotions from people? Being a writer? Not bad. Music? That could work too. Hollywood movies, worldwide exposure? Perfect. Seems like I'll need to become, what's that term? Right, an idea recycler. I'll start with writing. The ultimate goal? Becoming an international movie star. What's that? You're asking about acting skills? Please, I'm a succubus. Martin, are you ready yet? Come down for breakfast, or you'll miss the bus. A gentle voice called from downstairs. Martin, if you're late again, you'll lose your allowance, came a sterner voice. The first voice belongs to my mother, Linda Myers, a kind woman. She's currently a professor of film studies at the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts. The second voice belongs to my father, Grant Myers, an executive at J.P. Morgan's investment division. We live at 222 Tremblin Drive, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Los Angeles. A rich kid, I'm quite fond of this identity. It'll be a useful asset for my plans. Note, in Western culture, women traditionally take their husband's last name after marriage, even those like Hillary who project a fiercely independent image. Coming, Mom, what's for breakfast today? Your favorite, thick-cut bacon and eggs. Wow, that's awesome. Thanks, Mom. You should be thanking Mrs. Aranda, our housekeeper. She prepared breakfast. Thank you, Mrs. Aranda. But, Mom, I want to thank you too, after all. You decide what I eat every day. Linda beamed. Her little Martin seemed to have matured so much since his illness. Hey, why isn't anyone thanking me? That's not fair. Dad, if you double my allowance, I'll thank you. No way. Well then, no thank you from me. Oh, really? Well, how about I have your allowance? Oh, dearest father, I love you so much. You are the greatest member of the Myers family and my absolute pride. Ha! Linda and Grant burst into laughter together. Grant chuckled and pointed a playful finger at Martin. If your grandpa heard you, he'd probably beat you up. Dad, you won't tell Grandpa, will you? We'll see, depends on my mood. Come on, Dad, let me give you a shoulder massage. Martin put on a flattering smile. As a succubus, laying on the charm especially with people who could be useful, came with zero hesitation. All right, enough of that. Hurry up and eat, or you really will miss the bus, Linda urged. No problem, I can give him a ride, Grant offered. No way. Martin needs to go like all the other kids so he can fit in. I don't want him missing out on friendships at school. Mom, come on, as handsome as I am, how could I not have friends? Martin said with a mock scowl. Of course, he inherited my excellent genes. Grant gave himself a pat on the back, only to be met with a playful eye roll. Martin quickly finished his breakfast. A white-haired woman approached, holding a neatly folded set of clothes. Good morning, Master Martin. Here's your outfit for today. Thanks, Mrs. Aranda. I'll change right away. The boy wiped his mouth, grabbed the clothes, and darted off to his dressing room upstairs. Slow down, dear. I know, but I'm running late, Mom. A few moments later, Martin emerged wearing a light blue t-shirt and jeans, backpack in hand. With his fair skin, chestnut brown hair, and handsome features, he made quite an impression. Unlike many other kids his age, Martin's skin was free of the typical freckles found on Caucasian children, thanks to his quarter-Asian heritage. Even though his natural succubus charm was still weak, it was enough to subtly enhance his appearance. Whoa, who's this dashing young man? Grant teased. Why, he's the son of the handsome Mr. Grant and the beautiful Mrs. Linda, the one who inherited all their best qualities, Martin Myers. Martin replied, taking the cue smoothly. With a grin, he slung his backpack over one shoulder and dashed out the door. Goodbye, Dad. Bye, Mom. Bye, Mrs. Aranda. As he sprinted across the garden and out the front gate, Martin felt the residual energy from people's emotions slowly absorbed into his body, boosting his physical strength, speed, and reflexes ever so slightly. At the street corner, a bespectacled boy was already waiting. Hey, Martin. Morning, Mark. The boy with glasses, a slender frame, and slightly hunched shoulders was Mark Zuckerberg. A year older than Martin, Mark had recently moved from New York to Los Angeles with his wealthy Jewish family. Due to his obsession with computers, he had been held back a year and was now repeating 7th grade. However, since he had started school early, he was still the same age as his classmates. Martin, likewise, had started a year early, making him a year younger than his 7th grade peers. Martin greeted Mark warmly. Knowing the future accomplishments this kid would achieve, Martin naturally wanted to build a strong friendship from the start. Chapter 2. The Allure of Martin. Martin, how do you keep getting more handsome? Standing next to you puts a lot of pressure on me. Mark was a shy kid, but around friends, he could really loosen up, a classic example of what people call quietly bold. Martin gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder. Mark, do you want to date pretty girls? Of course. Even though Martin's abrupt question made him a bit uncomfortable, he answered honestly. Then work hard and make money. Money impresses girls more than a handsome face does. Makes sense. Mark thought for a moment, then asked, So does that mean when I have money, I'll be more popular than you? As if, Martin looked shocked, because in the future, I'll be both handsome and rich. Damn, he outdid me again, Mark thought, feeling frustrated. Just then, the bright yellow school bus pulled up. Screech! The doors opened. Hop on, boys. Good morning, Mr. Jared. Mornin', sir. Martin greeted the driver politely, followed by Mark, who blushed and muttered a quiet greeting, barely audible. After saying hello, Martin turned to the bus, smiling with his hands on his hips. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Hey, Martin, came the chorus of replies, mixed with light laughter, showing that young Martin was clearly well-liked. Martin, can you tell us the Kung Fu Panda story again? A red-haired girl with bangs and light freckles called from the front row. All right, Lindsay, but I hope you won't be bugging me during class for more stories. I swear, I won't. The bus fell quiet, with only Martin's lively voice breaking the silence. Don't be fooled by the peaceful look of Poe's village, Valley of Peace. In reality, it's a hidden martial arts haven. Besides having 5 kung fu masters, there's even a grandmaster who lives there in secret. To defeat the villain Tai Lung, the Valley of Peace held a special competition. The winner would represent the valley to drive him away. Who would have thought that Poe, who couldn't do anything right, would win by sheer accident, shocking everyone? The children, especially the little girls, listened intently, their gazes filled with admiration. Mark, sitting nearby, was envious. The bus soon reached the school, and one by one, the kids got off. Since Martin was responsible for keeping things orderly, he was the last to leave. Mark, his loyal sidekick, followed close behind. Lindsay is so pretty, and she seems to like you, Mark said enviously in a low voice. I know, Martin replied casually. Dorothy's pretty too, though she's a bit of a brawler. All the boys are scared of her. I know that too. So what are you going to do about it? Don't waste a good girl. Don't turn down a bad one. In other words, I want them all. Mark was shocked. Aren't you worried those jealous guys will try to beat you up? Martin chuckled. I welcome their challenge. To Martin, admiration, joy, jealousy, anger, these were all fuel. It seemed fate was listening, as a challenge soon appeared. Thud! A large, chubby, pale hand slapped heavily on Martin's desk, knocking his books and pens onto the floor. Are you Martin? My name's John. You should know me. I'm ordering you to stay away from Dorothy, or I'll snap your neck like a chicken. A tall, burly boy with a freckled face stood before Martin, his expression dark and threatening. John, should I know who he is? Martin asked Mark, feigning confusion. Mark was nearly scared to tears. He's the boss of our middle school, John Trace. The boss? You mean he's the school bully? This fat guy? He's neither intimidating nor impressive. What a disgrace to our St. Marino middle school. What did you say? John's face turned red with rage, and he reached out to grab Martin. In an instant, Martin caught his thumb and twisted it hard. Ah! John screamed, dropping to his knee as tears and snot streamed down his face. Sure, John was big and strong, towering over most kids his age, but Martin was a demon. While demons like him had the weakest physical strength in the realm of gods and demons, that was only relative to other divine beings. For a human, even with only 1,000th of his former strength, Martin's speed and reflexes were far superior. Against a kid with no combat skills, it was no contest. "What did you say your name was again?" "J. John." "And you're the boss of the middle school?" "Yes." Ouch, ouch. No, I'm not. You are. You're the boss, big brother Martin." In John's pitiful cries, traces of fear and resentment seeped toward Martin, which he eagerly absorbed, savoring it. The classmates watching looked at Martin differently now. They could hardly believe that the mild-mannered Martin had such a fierce side and could even bring John to his knees. In the front row, Lindsay's eyes sparkled. "Martin is amazing. He's not only handsome and smart, but he's strong too. I like him even more now." Just then, the classroom door flew open, and a tall girl burst in. "John, you jerk! Don't you dare bully!" She froze, staring at John kneeling with a tear-streaked face while Martin stood confidently before him. What was going on? This wasn't how she imagined it at all. "Dorothy, what brings you here?" Martin asked, turning to her in mild surprise. "I heard John was giving you trouble, so I came to stop him." Then, realizing the situation, Dorothy grinned. "But it seems I don't need to." Martin gave her a smile, a faint allure radiating from him unintentionally, just part of his nature. Dorothy's face turned bright red, and she wasn't alone. All the girls in the class, without exception, felt their hearts racing. Mark stared blankly at his friend, wishing he could be in his shoes. Why was it that when Martin smiled, he was so irresistible? He just couldn't figure it out. Chapter 3. The Budding Author's Surprise. "I'm home!" Martin, feeling relaxed after a day at school, pushed open the front door only to find his dad, Grant, and Mom, Linda, both sitting at the dining table. As they heard his voice, they looked up in unison. "What's going on?" Martin glanced over at Aranda, the housekeeper, who mouthed a word at him. "Random House." Martin instantly felt at ease, realizing what it was about. Looking back at Grant and Linda, he noticed the serious expressions on their faces, but beneath them lay unmistakable hints of joy, excitement, and a touch of disbelief. "Ahem, Martin. Care to tell us what you've been up to lately?" "Hey, Mom, are you trying to get me to confess?" "That depends on whether you've done anything wrong." "Of course not. Every day I go to school, come home on time, do my homework, read a bit, and sometimes write things myself." "Wait, write things yourself?" Grant interrupted, choosing his words carefully. "Besides that, have you, done anything else?" Well, I sent a few stories I wrote to a publisher. It might be a bit of a pipe dream, but I'd love for more people to read them. For example, I sent them to Random House, perhaps?" Grant pulled a thick envelope out of his bag and waved it, a smile spreading on both his and Linda's faces. "Whoa," Random House replied. Martin put on an excited expression. "Take a look. I haven't opened it yet. Let's hope it's not a rejection," Grant joked, but he got a light smack on the arm from Linda, who gave him a look that reminded him to stay positive. He made a zipping motion across his lips, signaling, "I'll keep quiet." Martin, without a hint of worry, opened the envelope and started reading aloud. "Dear Mr. Martin Myers, this is Benjamin Georgia, an editor from Random House. We were very impressed by your story, Kung Fu Panda. We'd like to discuss publication details with you in person on September 25th. "Oh my, our little Martin is about to be a published author. I'm so proud of you." Linda hugged him tightly, her eyes gleaming with happy tears. Grant was just as excited. An 11-year-old author, he thought. Looks like the Myers family has produced a prodigy. He couldn't wait to call his father and share the good news. September 25th. A black Cadillac slowly pulled up along the curb. A man and a woman stepped out. The man appeared to be in his early 40s, dressed in a smart gray business suit that highlighted his slim build and sharp demeanor. The woman, in her early 30s, also wore a gray professional outfit, holding a small bag and following closely behind, clearly his assistant or secretary. They were Benjamin Georgia, the editor from Random House, and his assistant, Miss Sheena. As Benjamin shaded his eyes and looked around, he spotted the Myers family's grand villa not far off. 222 Trumbull Avenue, upscale residential area, he murmured, then turned to Sheena. "Sheena, is this the address of the author?" "Yes, Benjamin. I confirmed it myself," Sheena replied with a smile. "Affluent family, good education. I'd bet the author is a well-read person, with a deep love for literature. No wonder he could write such an engaging story," Benjamin mused as he adjusted his suit. "And likely not too young either. Even though it's a children's story, Younger writers rarely have the knowledge to create such a richly detailed ancient Chinese setting. The landscapes, the clothing, the martial arts, even the food, all so vividly described, Sheena added. Their conversation continued as they reached the villa's entrance and pressed the doorbell. Soon, a warm voice came over the intercom. "Hello, this is the Myers residence. Who's calling, please?" "Hello, we're from Random House. Is Mr. Martin Myers home?" Benjamin replied. There was a slight pause before the voice responded. "Could you hold on for a moment, please?" They heard footsteps hurriedly running away, followed by a faint exclamation. Benjamin and Sheena exchanged a puzzled glance, each shrugging in mutual confusion. A moment later, the woman's voice returned over the intercom. "Please come in. Mr. and Mrs. Myers are waiting for you at the door." Mr. and Mrs. Myers? Benjamin thought, his mind racing. So the author of Kung Fu Panda must be Mr. Martin Myers himself. He began mentally rehearsing what he would say. The grand iron gate slowly swung open, revealing a stunning garden. Lush palms lined the perimeter, ensuring privacy, while evergreen shrubs like firethorn, golden privet, variegated juniper, and boxwood filled the space, accented with summer azaleas in pink, fuchsia, and purple hues. In the center of the lawn was a marble fountain with water streaming from the mouths of two sculpted fish, sparkling under the sunlight. Beyond the fountain stood an impressive Baroque-style villa, with elegant marble columns and intricate statues, a testament to the owner's refined taste. As Benjamin and Sheena approached, two gracefully poised middle-aged people stood waiting. The man stepped forward first and extended his hand. "Welcome. I've been eagerly awaiting your visit. You must be Mr. Martin Myers. Your work is simply outstanding. I'm certain children all over the world will cherish this new classic." Grant froze, realizing the misunderstanding, then chuckled. "Actually, Kung Fu Panda isn't my creation. Let me introduce myself. I'm Grant Myers, Chief Investment Officer and Head of the Investment Office at J.P. Morgan. The story was written by my son, Martin." Benjamin blinked, momentarily flustered, as he turned to shake hands with Linda, just catching himself in time to avoid a misstep. Once everyone was seated in the villa's drawing room, Benjamin finally understood his error. Kung Fu Panda's actual author was none other than Grant and Linda's young son, Martin Myers. "If you don't mind me asking, how old is your son?" "He's 11. Grant beamed with pride. Benjamin and Sheena stared in amazement. "Is he home right now? I'd love to meet him." "He should be on his way back from school, so he should arrive in about 15 minutes. Would you both care for something to drink? Tea, coffee, or perhaps some whiskey?" "Coffee, please. And for you, ma'am?" "I'll have tea, thank you." Linda gave the housekeeper, Aranda, a quick signal, and she hurried away. Soon she returned with a tray, bearing 2 tall and short pots with 4 cups. The tall pot held coffee, and the short, stout one was for tea. "Please, have a taste. This is authentic Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee and traditional Chinese red tea." Each took a cup, and the 4 of them engaged in light conversation. A little over 10 minutes later, they heard a familiar voice at the door. "I'm home!" Chapter 4. The Author's Vision. Martin pushed open the door, instantly spotting 2 guests seated in the living room. He wasn't surprised. He had a good idea that the folks from Random House would be visiting today. Their personal appearance confirmed just how much they valued his story, Kung Fu Panda. Benjamin and Sheena looked up at the sound of his arrival, and both felt a jolt of astonishment. The 11-year-old boy walked into the room, sunlight streaming around him, highlighting his thick brown hair, which he had neatly combed back, glinting gold in the light. His blue eyes held the calm depth of an ocean, and his finely structured features conveyed a mix of confidence and warmth. "So, this is Martin Myers? Look who's home, our little author." Grant chuckled, standing up to greet Martin and wrapping an arm around his shoulders. "Martin, let me introduce you. This is Mr. Benjamin Georgia, an editor from Random House, and his assistant, Miss Sheena. They're here to discuss your story, Kung Fu Panda." "Hello, Mr. Georgia, Miss Sheena." Martin greeted them, his face a mix of excitement and poise. Benjamin noted how quickly the boy went from surprised to composed and polite, showing unexpected maturity for his age. For someone so young, it was remarkable that Martin had crafted such a vibrant story as Kung Fu Panda. "I'm Benjamin Georgia. Nice to meet you, Martin." "You can call me Benjamin," Benjamin said warmly. pushing aside his amazement to introduce himself. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Benjamin." Martin nodded with a polite smile. Benjamin collected his thoughts before speaking again. "Martin, I have a few questions for you, if that's all right." Seeing Martin's self-assurance, Benjamin decided to address him as he would any adult. The boy radiated a natural elegance and self-assuredness that was rare even in well-mannered children. Martin's poise seemed effortless, unlike the studied politeness many privileged kids displayed. Martin took a seat across from Benjamin as Aranda, the housekeeper, brought over a cup of tea. "Thank you." Martin took a sip, his calm demeanor surprising even his father, Grant, who couldn't help but marvel at his son's composure. "Is this really my Martin?" Martin set his cup down and addressed Benjamin with a steady gaze. "Mr. Benjamin, feel free to ask anything. As long as it's not too personal, I'll be happy to answer." Benjamin took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "Martin, I'm really curious about your inspiration and process in creating Kung Fu Panda. Would you mind sharing?" "Of course." Martin's face lit up with a smile as he considered the best way to explain. He could sense Benjamin's skepticism. Despite the editor's polite tone, Martin's sharp instincts picked up on a hint of doubt. "Mr. Benjamin, I began creating this story because, well, I ran out of stories." "Ran out of stories?" Benjamin echoed, puzzled. "Yes, I usually tell stories to my friends on the school bus, but fairy tales like The Little Mermaid or Snow White are too childish, and kids my age don't care much for them. Stories like The Little Prince or Hamlet are too mature, and they aren't really interested in those either. One day my dad took me to the zoo. We saw the lions, then the pandas, and that's when I thought of The Lion King. If Disney could use animals to bring Shakespeare's stories to life and create such a big hit, I figured, why couldn't I create a story with animals as the main characters? And that's how Kung Fu Panda was born. So the pandas at the zoo helped inspire you?" Benjamin asked, intrigued. "Yes, but that's only part of it. I'm sure you noticed all the Chinese cultural details in the story. For instance, the 5 Kung Fu masters each represent a traditional Chinese martial art: tiger, crane, monkey, snake, and praying mantis. And there are other elements, like the Chinese character for longevity on Master Mantis's back, and the design and decor of the Jade Palace." Martin took another sip of tea and continued. "Honestly, the story came to me effortlessly. It felt like I had an endless stream of ideas flowing into my mind, not just for the plot, but also for the characters themselves. A wise and caring Master Shifu, the proud but gentle tigress, the steady and dependable crane, the quick-witted and funny mantis, the warm-hearted viper, the fierce Tai Lung, and of course, Po the playful, curious panda, who's a little clumsy but full of spirit." Benjamin listened with rapt attention, clearly fascinated. Sheena, too, was completely absorbed, watching Martin with an admiring gaze as he spoke, captivated by the young boy's eloquence and thoughtful expressions. "Oh, and I've also drawn sketches of each character. Just a moment." Martin hopped up from his seat and dashed upstairs. As he left the room, Benjamin turned to Grant and Linda with a sincere smile. "You should be very proud. Your son is incredible." Grant and Linda exchanged a look, their faces radiating pride. Grant couldn't help but feel a slight curiosity as well, since when had Martin become so well-versed in Chinese culture? After a few moments, Martin returned, carrying a cardboard box. "Mr. Benjamin, these are my drawings of the characters in the story." He opened the box, revealing detailed illustrations, each capturing the essence of the animal characters in vivid, lifelike detail. Benjamin eagerly leafed through the drawings, exclaiming, "Wow!" with each turn. "It looks like we've found our illustrations.